I chose to do my final project on the Devil's Tower. Um, this is a topic that initially I didn't really know much about. Um, I had a hard time kind of deciding what I wanted to present on for this entire final project. So I kind of looked up just a large number of sacred areas, not only in the U.S. but kind of across the world. And this one really caught my eye regarding the history behind it and kind of the multiple groups that kind of reside there. And then also the little bit of conflict there is between these religious groups and kind of the surrounding people that attend this park. So I just thought it was really cool that I could kind of get information on both those things and do a little research on it. So here I'm going to dive into a little background information just regarding kind of the history of the park itself and the Devil's Tower as a whole. Um, so the Devil's Tower Park is located in northeastern Wyoming, um, right across the border from South Dakota, as you can see in this picture. Um, there are a large number of Native American tribes that reside in this area, um, which I'll talk about a little later in the presentation. So as I did mention, it is a national park. A large number of people go to not only just visit, but some people try to rock climb the sides of it, and I'll also kind of discuss that a little more. As I mentioned a minute ago, this is a national park. Um, it is actually the first United States national monument established on September 24th, 1906 by President Theodore Roosevelt, also known as Teddy Roosevelt. Um, so this was kind of a big thing, just declaring uh, this one kind of single landmark to be such an important monument in the United States so early on in its history um, as a kind of expanding nation. So the monument itself, the boundary of it is around 1,500 acres, a little less than that, to be exact. So as you can see in the diagram, that's quite a big expanse of land to kind of protect in a sense. So now I'm gonna kind of dive into a little more of the important side of why it's sacred, and a little bit of the history behind that. So there are a number of Native American groups that do reside in this area and are heavily active there. So these groups include the Cheyenne tribe, which is located in the top left, the blue flag, the Sioux tribe, which is the red flag in the top right, and also the Kiowa tribe, which is, as you can see, located in the middle bottom. So all these tribes kind of have different connections with the kind of history of the Devil's Tower. Um, a lot of this history isn't really written in books. It's kind of more something that is passed down orally as stories, kind of explaining where the tower came from, as well as kind of its significance to the groups. Um, so kind of the major thing that makes this location sacred can be split up into two general ideas. Cultural connections is the first one, and then spiritual connections, which I'll touch on a little bit later. So the cultural connection side um, kind of outlines uh, the relationships that these people have with their environment where they live. And this isn't just something that's present with these Native American groups. All across the U.S., this is kind of a theme. Uh, they kind of represent ideas in nature through symbolism so they can create relationships and connect to them a little better. So one of the stories that was told by the Sioux tribe um, was they believed in this large bear that roamed these woods. So one day they were out kind of gathering some food and hunting, that kind of thing. And this bear started chasing them, trying to eat them. And they stumbled across this smaller hill, nothing like the size of that is portrayed here. And they stopped and they bent down on their knees and prayed to the god that was their creator, they called him, to save them from this bear. And how the story goes is the creator raised this pillar, the Devil's Tower, out of the ground, and rose it very high into the sky, so that the bear couldn't climb up it. And as you can kind of see in the side, there's some claw marks, they call them, where the story tells that the bear made these giant grooves in the side of the mountain, trying to get to the top, but he was not able to. So this is just one of the stories from one of the tribes in the area. Obviously, the different tribes kind of have different takes on what happened, and kind of pass down different stories based on their individual beliefs. So the other side of the sacredness of the Devil's Tower is the spiritual connection side. So these Native American tribes partake in a number of ceremonies and rituals throughout the year. On the sides of the monument, kind of in the surrounding park area as well. And the most common ritual that takes place is called a prayer offering, which is kind of depicted in these two pictures here. So what this is, usually a more personal individual effort. A person will kind of go up to the Devil's Tower or around that area and bring some colorful cloths or bundles or something like that and tie them around a tree or some other kind of wildlife. And they kind of do this to gain a personal connection to this sacred site, and kind of, as I mentioned earlier, kind of create that more intimate relationship with the natural world. So these cloths could represent a number of things, including an offering, kind of praying or requesting for something, and then also maybe remembering someone that passed on or died. So one of the big things I'll touch on a little earlier is people tend to kind of go up to these prayer offerings, people visiting the park, and kind of touch them or mess with them a little bit, move them around, and that's extremely frowned upon because this is such a significant part of the Native American culture. So this is kind of where some of that conflict comes into play, with people kind of tampering with some of the activity of the Native American group, either on purpose or not on purpose. One of the bigger arguments that is occurring right now regarding the Devil's Tower is rock climbing on it. It's a large, popular spot to climb because it is a national park, so technically it is lawful to do so. Although the Park Service maintains a policy of no climbing, although they can't really enforce it. It's more of a program, a public education program, to try and persuade people to avoid climbing the mountain because it disturbs kind of the ceremonies and other activities of the Native American group. As you can see here, it's another sign created and put in the park, kind of just reminding people visiting to don't mess with the Native American culture. Just let them do their thing and just don't disturb them and be respectful in that sense. So there's a big argument regarding the National Park Service intervening with this religious group and how it kind of shouldn't have been allowed. So although the Park Service couldn't necessarily make a law prohibiting people from climbing, there was kind of a voluntary ban that took place, not necessarily year round because it's so hard to stop people then, but mostly in the month of June when the ceremonies and rituals are kind of at their peak. And this is when there will be larger groups of Native Americans that all gather together and pray or conduct other rituals and ceremonies. So the National Park Service is at the moment still trying to work on making this kind of a permanent thing, disallowing people from uh, climbing the Devil's Tower or messing with any of the rituals or ceremonies that are happening in this Native American group.